Russia breaking news. Russia has recently abandoned its most significant self-deception. The phrase special military operation has been Russia's go-to excuse for its invasion of Ukraine. On the other hand, a representative from the Kremlin blamed the West and said we are in a state of war on Friday. Putin made it illegal to refer to Russia's aggression against Ukraine as a war or invasion by signing a bill into law. Russia has rebranded its invasion of Ukraine as a war after referring to it as a special military operation for over 2 years. In an interview with the Russian newspaper Arguments and Facts, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov confirmed the shift on Friday. War has broken out, according to Peskov. Indeed, it came to pass as a war for us when this group came into being and the entire West joined in supporting Ukraine. It had its beginnings as a specific military operation. He went on to say, everyone should grasp this, for their internal motivation. Reuters, after that. Russian officials have consistently used the term special military operation to describe their full-scale invasion since it began in February 2022. A few glaring lapses, though, have occurred. A senator demanded action against Russian President Vladimir Putin in December 2022 after he referred to it as a war. Putin had previously passed a law that effectively criminalized the use of such terms. Speaking with CNN, a U.S. official expressed the belief that Putin's comment was an accidental slip of the tongue. It seems like Peskov meant what he said. Russian officials have been trying to reassure Russians at home that their country is not at war by insisting on calling the operation a special military operation, according to experts. Russian officials have reportedly sought to keep the Russian people in the dark about the true nature of the battle, according to Western intelligence. Russia has resorted to penalizing individuals who oppose or criticize the war in an effort to stifle any internal resistance. Russian President Vladimir Putin declared Russia to be in a state of war with Ukraine on Friday, 2 years into the invasion, as his country unleashed a barrage of missile and drone strikes on its neighbor. After initially describing the war as a special military operation, the Kremlin has now admitted that there has been an escalation in official parlance. Ukrainian officials claim that Russia attempted to disable their country's power and heating network by destroying dozens of energy installations, including power stations, with around 90 missiles and over 60 kamikaze drones designed by Iran. 15 House lawmakers engage in a mad dash to approve cash for Ukraine as aid remains stalled. Interior Ministry and municipal officials confirm at least 3 deaths and over 20 injuries. While speaking to a pro-Kremlin publication, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov stated, "We are in a state of war." Such remarks were published on Friday. As soon as the group known as the Collective West joined forces with Ukraine, Peskov stated, "For us it already become a war, despite the fact that the operation had begun as a special military operation." Moscow frequently claims that the West is arming Ukraine, therefore directly participating in the conflict. In his follow-up statement to reporters later that day, Peskov provided further details. "Nothing has changed, this is a specific military operation. What I mean is that it became a war for us when the West as a whole got involved. No modifications to the law are involved here. The law recognizes this as a special military operation." He informed reporters that the dispute escalated into a war as the West's involvement in the fight became more direct and widespread. Inappropriate, Peskov said in response to a question regarding Russian citizens convicted of crimes related to using the word war to characterize the fighting. "The situation has changed," Peskov stated. "The term war has multiple meanings depending on the setting. All you have to do is look at the instances you list and compare the context I have with theirs." Russia launched its largest on-record assault on the electrical grid in Ukraine. Near the battle lines in Kharkiv and Zaporizhia and hundreds of miles away in western Ukraine and Lviv and Ivano-Frankivsk were 2 of the 9 regions struck by Russian attacks. This morning's Russian attack on Ukraine's energy infrastructure was the largest on record, stated Ukrenergo, the state-run power grid of Ukraine. According to the report, dozens of power system facilities have been damaged, including thermal and hydroelectric power plants, main and regional power lines, and 7 regions that had to be put on emergency power outages. Once more, Zelensky begs for assistance. Russian terrorists' goals are evident to the world, according to President Volodymyr Zelensky. These include power plants and energy supply lines, a hydroelectric dam, regular residential buildings, and even a trolleybus. On Friday, he renewed his call for further weapons from the West, criticizing the political indecision he said was causing casualties among Ukrainian citizens. The United States Congress is presently blocking a $60 billion military aid plan that would be a lifesaver for Ukraine, which has been dealing with severe shortages of both air defenses and ground ammunition. Neither Russian missiles nor humanitarian supplies to our country are subject to delays. Unlike some politicians, the Shahid drones are unwavering in their decisions. Zelensky emphasized the significance of knowing how much delays and postponed decisions cost. Protecting people, infrastructure, houses, and dams requires air defense. Our associates are fully aware of the requirements. They can undoubtedly lend us a hand. We must defend life against these Moscow-based aliens. The Ukrainian Air Force claimed responsibility for shooting down 55 out of 63 drones and 37 out of 88 missiles fired overnight. The strikes caused approximately 700,000 people in the northern Kharkiv region to lose power, according to Governor Oleg Synedyubov. The goal is not simply to damage, but to try again, as last year, to produce a large-scale failure of the country's energy system, German Galashchenko, the Minister of Energy, stated. During the winter of 2018, Russia conducted a relentless series of aerial attacks on Ukraine's power grid, cutting power to millions of people and leaving them without heating for hours in sub-zero temperatures. This year, however, the country's energy infrastructure has mostly held its own. The situation in the energy sector is under control, and there is no need for blackouts across the nation, Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal said Friday, emphasizing that the power outages in certain places are temporary. According to Galashchenko, Romania, Slovakia, and Poland were supplying emergency electricity. Important nuclear power station once again. According to Energy Minister Galashchenko, one of the strikes on Friday broke one of the two power lines that serve the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power station plant in southeast Ukraine. Russian forces captured Europe's biggest nuclear power plant in the early days of the conflict, but Ukrainian lines provide electricity to the facility. Officials from Ukraine's atomic energy operator, Energoatom, have warned that the current situation could lead to an emergency. Due to several blackouts that have occurred since the war began, the factory has had to rely on emergency diesel generators and safety mechanisms. A nuclear and radiation accident threat will develop in the event that they fail, Energoatom said. A backup power line was still operational, according to the International Atomic Energy Agency, which is overseeing the situation at the plant. A trolleybus was also struck by a Russian missile at the Dnipro hydroelectric station, according to officials. Images shared online depicted the dam in flames and the charred remains of the wrecked vehicles. On Friday, a hit on Russia's Belgorod resulted in the death of a woman and injuries to others, according to the governor of the border region with Ukraine, where Kiev has increased its strikes. The Federal Security Service of Russia, FSB, announced the arrest of 7 pro-Ukrainian activists in the nation's capital, the most recent in a series of such incidents.